am so pleased to represent my family in presenting this award to my mother. We were all so thrilled when we learned that she had been voted into the New Jersey Hall of Fame. My brothers and sisters, Marilyn, Warren, David, and Patty, and I grew up in Washington Township. We saw how hard my mother worked to support us after my father died. She got a job in New York City producing and writing radio programs, but missed the printed word. The only time she had to write fiction was between 5 and 7 in the morning. She got out of bed, worked for those 2 hours on the kitchen you saw in the video, then put the typewriter on the floor in the corner and made us the best French toast or bacon and egg sandwiches, then got us off to school. Several of us are now on heavy doses of cholesterol medication. In 1969, she had a historical novel about George Washington published that sold few copies. The publishing company went out of business, but she claimed it wasn't her fault. In 1974, she sold that first suspense novel, Where Are the Children, for $3,000. It was to be published the following year. We were so excited, but had no idea what the future held. In August, my mother was staring at a pile of tuition bills. 2 of us were in college, 1 in a Catholic girls' high school, and 2 in law school. My sister Marilyn is now a criminal court judge in Paterson, and my brother Warren, a municipal court judge in Old Japan. But at this time, my mother had to pay those bills. My mother's agent called. She took the call upstairs, and a few minutes later came flying down the steps, screaming, "I'm rich!" She was running around the living room waving her arms. Our dog started barking like crazy and never recovered. But she was screaming, "They just sold the paperback rights for $100,000. Well, boy, did we celebrate. She called her friends and popped out the champagne. She called my brother at Dartmouth, and he ordered a keg for his fraternity, David. Finally, the financial strain had been eased. But life being life, there are always those bumps in the road. A year later, she handed in the first 100 pages of her second manuscript. Her agent called her in and told her to take notes. The manuscript was stilted. It didn't work. My mother came home very dejected and said, "Maybe I only had one book in me." Please God, no, we all thought. But she sat down, and my mother, being my mother, rewrote the book for the next 2 years at that kitchen table. When it was finished, she landed a big contract. It was published to great reviews and won a big award in France. At this time, she started to get a lot of publicity. One of our favorite headlines, "Widow makes millions at rickety kitchen table." It really wasn't that rickety, and my mother has kept that table all these years, and she's now at work on book number 44. Thank you, yeah. We started collecting our books and realized we didn't have that first book about George Washington. We all didn't have our own copies, so she called a book tracing service and asked if you could find any. There were only 1,500 copies in print. She got a call a month later, went down and paid $100. It was originally $295. She opened it up and screamed. It was the autographed copy she'd given to her boss. Well, he was known for being fiscally conservative, and my mother, being my mother, wanted to call him up and say, "You know, I know you would never part with it, but I insist. Simon & Schuster will give you $1,000 for that book." So that's why they call her Scary Mary. She loved raising her children in New Jersey, seeing her grandchildren raised here, setting her books here. Then 15 years ago, my sister Patty, who worked at the New York Mercantile Exchange, met John Conheeney, a widower from Ridgewood, who came onto the board. She thought he would be perfect for my mother. Reluctantly, he came to her St. Patrick's Day party and 10 days later called her for a date. They've been married nearly 15 years, and John's 4 children and their families, 11 grandchildren on their side, are part of our combined family. Today, nearly all of us are here, as well as our cousins and friends, and we're so proud to my mother receive this award. She's known as the Queen of Suspense, but today she's very happy to be celebrated as that very special Jersey girl.